Welcome to Turn Illness into Brilliance, where we turn problem into solution and illness into the brilliance that is unique to you. Quantum Therapeutics offers solution for C-PTSD, PTSD, and dissociation. In this journey with us, we hope to reignite your curiosity around what is possible. So welcome, welcome, welcome to Turn Illness into Brilliance. Oh my gosh, thank you for being here. Here we are in our second episode of Turn Illness into Brilliance. I'm Cherie, Doyen, and today I have with me Sydney Hemwell. I said that right?
Yeah.
She's our team sound therapist, and last week we talked about dissociation and the idea of our astral body being what is actually dissociating from our body. Dissociation means the separation of one thing from the other, right? So literally, that is a literal foundational piece of quantum therapeutics, right? And when we can learn to be in our body, then we can start truly making choices and change. Yeah? So as we move into our segment today, right, I want to start by saying that, we truly believe that, right, to heal, we have to look at all 5 layers of our being: our physical body, our energetic systems, our behavioral systems, our mental systems, and our spiritual systems, right? And those all have to come into play. We can't just look at our physical body and fix it. We can't just look at our mental processes and change them. Like, we truly have to be operating in full awareness of who we are and how we're showing up. And I know for myself through this journey, sound was huge, right? And we truly believe in quantum therapeutics that using what is around us and what comes natural and what is an easy, natural go-to is the first place to start. So by that, I want to introduce Sydney, and I'd like for her to tell us, or tell you, a little bit about herself.
Yeah. So I'm Sydney, and my journey with sound started, from the beginning, long before quantum. But I like to sit first in some stuff with quantum, how it's important. So something that's truly fascinating about sound, about music, is the way it interacts with the brain. So while we sit here and we see colors, different parts of the brain do not go off as we see different colors. But with sound, each sound, noise, tone, it all interacts with a different part of the brain, and you can see that. They've done scans, like watching how it plays around with all the different parts of the brain, which is just truly fascinating because we can really get in there and be really direct with what we're doing. And that's what I've really seen through becoming a sound therapist and now working as a student practitioner with quantum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I know that through our interactions, right, sound's been and music has been very much a part of your journey, mm-hmm. and something that I always felt that we needed to capitalize on because it's a foundation, and music is our access to that, especially mm-hmm. for a musician, a person that is a creator. When they are creating, they're out of the way. They're instant access to that. So, a musician being able to crawl off with their instrument is like, a yogi going into meditation, mm-hmm. right? Exactly. Only in action.
Yeah.
Which I love, right? Mm-hmm. I love that step from sitting with our eyes closed to moving into an active state, which, right. In quantum, we really believe, if action isn't happening, then you're just thinking about it.
Right.
Right?
No, I love that. And then in quantum, when we're talking about working with sound, we like to have the words not there, you know, for it to just be sound. Which is very interesting since so much of us listen to music that has lots of words. And, you know, prior to this journey into quantum for myself, those words really like told my story. You know, they really put me in a place where I would sit in things that I didn't necessarily need to sit in. And if it hadn't had those words, like, there's just different actions you can take and be inspired to do. You know, the words really solidify where your action is going to go.
Well, and what's real and true is, like, words have morphic fields, right? They have an energy that comes together. And when somebody's creating a song, right, the alchemy of how those words go together create a build. And they're working towards having a reaction in your body.
Exactly.
Right? That is intentional. So, you know, what I love with the Today I Choose segment, when we can take that intentional words that are in our highest and best, and combine them with sound, then we have some, you know, start embedding them in our bodies, right? You know, we have to be very judicious what words we put with those sounds, I really believe, right? And yeah, often, like, you know, in my process, it's like if somebody is really gravitating towards music, or they're gravitating towards art, or whatever that creative process is, it's like, let's lean that over here towards, like, if you're, you know, you can paint like beauty rather than destruction, right? You can paint, let's bridge that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So now I do believe that using sound intentionally, I do have to share with, you know, me being in that meditation with the music of the plants, right? Like, you know, there's a group of people called Doyen in are they France? Is that France or Italy? I think it's France. You know, and they've developed a bamboo reed type, like, device that can transport the vibrations of the plants into reality. Now, as a hearer, like, it is interesting, right? Because I hear music everywhere. You? Yeah, I hear music everywhere. And sometimes I even hear singing. Yeah? Do you hear it, like, vocalizing? And, you know, so it's around us everywhere. And to sit with the trees and, you know, because I always felt like I could hear them singing.
Yeah.
But to, like, hear them singing, where everyone is hearing them singing, was, you know, I instantly got up from that meditation and was walking around asking where that music was coming from, because I felt it in every molecule of every water molecule was vibrating, which was super cool. You know, and did you, as a youngster, was that a coping way of coping for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anything, like, it really brought me back, you know.
To the ground, right?
Exactly. You know, it really...
or in your body.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I could start to feel my body, like, I would gravitate towards it for the stimulation in my body, because that would help me, like, come back down and calm down. And now, at the time, I didn't know really what was going on at all. But that's where I went, like, if I were emotional or just something had happened, like, that's where I went. Like, I went and sat with the music, and I would feel that in my body, like, it would validate feelings, you know, like, kind of going through a process with it that allowed me, at the end of that, to actually make better choices, you know.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, when we can use what is around us, and it's not like, you know, oh, I'm going to go sit with this instrument or with this tool and, you know, create ritual. No, you're moving into creation, right? And my whole family played guitar, right? So anytime anything tumultuous was going on, right, you were gonna see a brother over here with a guitar, or an uncle over here out on the porch by himself with his guitar, right? And in that, like, there were no words with that. Like, they were working through and processing by going into the gap with that instrument, right?
Yeah.
That was their access to the gap and the vibrations, right?
Exactly.
It wasn't, and when we can utilize what we're doing instinctually and be like, all right, this is how I process. Awesome, right? I'm going to use that in a very intentional way. I think it's beautiful. And when we can take that then and turn it out to help others in a very intentional way, right? Hello.
Exactly. Yeah.
Life can really start changing.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, I love that you mentioned there in that gap, because as a musician and worked with a lot of other musicians, like we talk about sitting there in that sweet spot, and many of us have witnessed it as being a member in the crowd and stuff when you're watching the funny faces that they'll make or something, or how they're just they're not, they're completely there, but they're just in something else, and it's truly amazing.
And it's a communion, which, is also, as musicians, I'm always a little envious of that communion that happens in that space, right? In that vibration of sound. It's like a coven or a prayer circle, right? I mean, truly, because you're coming together with one intention. Right?
Yeah.
And you're having to listen and lean into and really trust each other, which rarely happens on this planet. Right? So it's truly like family in its highest state.
No, that's so funny that you mentioned that, because truly, when you work together in a group of musicians, you don't have to work together very long. You're talking about this sense of family, that. I've worked with people for a few days, and it's at the end of those few days, it's we should do this forever. We're just there in that space, and it is amazing how it can just grow that bond. We weren't just sharing everything about ourselves, or really spending a lot of time outside of the rehearsal space together. And rehearsal time was pretty we're playing music, so it's just really fascinating to see that when you're talking about with family and how we're here bringing that to quantum as well.
Yeah. Because it is interesting, that feeling of being home, right? And being home requires you being activated. And being activated is more than sitting in meditation, right? Now, I just came from this big journey from Mexico, and probably the first day I was there, I was invited to a meditation. So in my mind, right, I'm thinking meditation, right? It was the most moving experience because, people sat for about 3 seconds, and then they were up dancing. It was a celebration of life. Right? And right in the middle, music's going, everybody's dancing, right? Bodies are moving, the words that are coming out, the words that are very intentional as to be, embedded in the system, right? And in the middle of that, they brought out food, like a certain cake that everybody took a bite of, very similar to Christianity bringing out the host. It was very similar, but had no religious ties other than communion and community and celebration. It was a beautiful experience, right? And very different. And it's something that we're trying to bring into this Today I Choose segment of our show. Right? To say, you know, our journey on this planet needs to be more than dealing and coping, right? And we need to find joy somewhere, right? And the moment that you can begin to discover joy, even for 2 or 3 minutes, you get to grow that. There is an opportunity for that, right? And quantum, right, is so rapid in clearing up the debris, right, that you can actually turn the bus around and go, hey, wait, who am I? You know, I know when I was studying with Chopra, like, that was a persistent question, who am I? And I'm like, how can I even know that if I'm not in my body, right? How can I know, like, what I like or don't like, right? You know, we can't know any of that until we're in our body, and I think sound can be very beneficial in that space, right? And, you know, back to the words that you spoke to earlier, you know, that's something that I think is important for us to be cautious about. We touched on just briefly earlier, but, you know, words have morphic fields. So if you're going to put word with the vibration of sound, right, which is the same, like, frequency of your auric field, that means those words are, you know, just have instant access to you, right? Those words need to be chosen with intention, right? And, you know, taking the words completely off the table and calling for the words that you need that day, right? And saying them out loud in that space is more powerful than listening to someone else's words that are going to create contamination, because words can either be germs or they can be fertilizer. Yeah?
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting talking about how we need to be in our bodies in order to figure out, like, what who we are. Because in my journey with sound, like, up until I did QT, that was the only thing I knew I liked. Like, that was it, you know? And I find that interesting because of that journey of how it really brought me into my body. Like, how the one thing that was always kind of bringing me back, something that I needed to learn to do on my own, was so, like, impactful, so profound, in that, like, this is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah,
you know,
that's amazing. Well, and like you and I have spoken, that I see, like, systems and things, and, you know, the auric field, you know, which is our force field, right, weaves out very much like, you know, in sound waves. It's sound waves, right? Yeah. And, you know, I kind of see them, like, intertwining around us to create a force field, right? So if we're vibrating with, you know, a song that is littered with harmful words, they're just going to have instant access. Yeah?
Yeah. So I think a beautiful thing about what you just said, going into kind of the sound therapy world. So in the sound therapy world, like, there's not words, we're not talking about that. Like, we're talking about you're seeing this, the field around and how that's weaving in and out. We're using tuning forks to read that and to measure it. You can hear it when it touches, like, people's fields, and so we can start working in that field.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool, because I would love to. I always love when what I see as a psychic is validated in the 3D. Otherwise, it's hard to even say it out loud. So that's cool. Like, I would love to have a demonstration of that.
Yeah.
Sometime, right? To say, okay, like, you know, there's validation for how those waves and how far out from the body they are. How far can we, because what comes through for me often is when people feel very vulnerable, they have their auric field pulled in really tight, right? And in that space, we feel invisible, we feel like we're suffocating, we feel trapped, right? And if we have our auric field expanded out optimally about 6 feet all the way around, right? Its weave is very natural, right?
Yeah.
And we have space between the chaos of the world and the constant vibration coming in and the information and our body. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Now, another thing you and I have talked about numerous times is the connection between the bowls and the chakras and the notes.
Yes. So, and you can go into that like in so many different ways, but we have our pretty basic C scale, which is just like the plain, for those who aren't musicians, it's just like the most basic scale in music. And starting up at the bottom of that, that's going to resonate with your root chakra, and going up C, D, E, F, G, A, B with each chakra.
So what's interesting is I remember calling you when I was in New Mexico, and I kept hearing, to resonate with, the A note, right? Which you said was third eye.
Yes.
Right? So, yeah, I find that fascinating.
Yeah, so that gives us like this access to just like be really direct and play around exactly where we're trying to be. Like if you're looking for some kind of movement between the heart and the throat chakra, like heart is F, throat is G. So we're gonna play around at F sharp,
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense.
And we can do this with our voices, like with other instruments. Like it's really a tool that you can take with you anywhere.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And, as we move into the Today I Choose portion of this, please get up on your feet. Allow these very intentional words and these very intentional notes to activate, right, change in your system and balance, right? Yeah. Now let's take a big deep breath as we shift gears and move into the Today I Choose segment of our show. We'd like to invite you to carve out a spot in your home where you're going to feel completely free to allow your body to speak and move and be present in this very moment. Thought, word, and action come together with the frequency of sound. So get comfy, close your eyes, and allow the words to turn into action and action turn into reality with Today I Choose. And on behalf of myself and the Quantum Therapeutics team, we want to thank you for tuning into Turn Illness into Brilliance, where we turn problem into solution and illness into the unique brilliance that is you. Quantum Therapeutics for rapid results for resolution to C-PTSD, PTSD, and dissociation. Today, you can choose to schedule your call for freedom.